My research about this space tells me that there's a very hand-in-glove relationship between the high-velocity world of beer and the type of pull-through or sell-through that we see for cannabis beverages. It's not exactly beer. It is THC beverage. It is a different category. We're calling it the fourth category for a reason. Look back in the history books. It is worth looking at how we came out of prohibition of alcohol. It didn't work. Like, does that sound familiar? Cannabis prohibition didn't work, obviously, right? Now, when we made that decision, we actually said, as a country, we said, low proof alcohol, as in 3.2 beer, sell it everywhere, because this is how you eliminate what was then the black market, that people were dying from food products or beverages that were not safe. And in the meantime, let every state decide, what do you want to do with that higher potency liquor? Let every state decide. How religious are you? Do you want it to be dry counties? Do you want to say no liquor at all? This is how we reintroduced alcohol from a legal standpoint into our society. So think about that from like a history standpoint, and like think about the allegory of what we're looking at right now in the United States for cannabinoids. It's the same thing.
I'm Rebecca Maisel. I'm with Gulf Distributing Holdings. So we are beer and beverage distributors headquartered in Mobile, Alabama, covering the entire state of Alabama and the panhandle of Florida. We have also somewhat recently, 5 or 6 months ago, entered into the hemp beverage space. We want to be participating in it because as beer and beverage distributors, we want a seat at the table when the discussion begins to start to legislate and regulate these beverages. And we want to be able to say, we are, category experts. We are familiar with the product. We think it fits hand in glove in our portfolio because we are used to dealing in intoxicants. The system that kind of came out of the repeal of prohibition, I think we've learned that through alcohol, that prohibition does not work. That was a failed experiment. Mm-hmm. And so out of that, there was actually a study commissioned by John Rockefeller, and he wrote a book called Toward Liquor Control. The problem that he identified with pre-prohibition times is essentially suppliers could buy retail accounts. And that's, somebody said it yesterday, that's what happens in the Coke and Pepsi system. That's why there's no diversity. That's why the soda aisle is like Coke, Pepsi. Yeah. It's very hard to break into that because those people can pay for that space. They can leverage their giant corporation-ness to do so. What we've learned is these products fit very well in there, and Gulf Distributing wants to be a leader in that respect, and we want to be a leader when it comes time to regulate and legislate these products because we think that they're going to really fit beautifully into this system.
Who is better to help shape this industry, and who is better to produce these beverages than craft brewers? We have the space. We know how to make shelf-stable, human-consumable products. We've been doing it for a very, very long time. We kind of know how to get 21-plus beverages to market and in people's hands. And we also care about quality, and we care about our community above all. If we are going to operate in this space, we need to take care and make sure that people are safe. Part of that is writing regulations.
Every beer started as a craft beer. All right? I mean, every beer started as a craft beer in a garage, probably somebody's house, right? But I think everybody knows just very quickly that it's the only consumer good product, an alcohol-based product that has been outlawed by constitutional amendment, not just legislative action, by constitutional amendment outlawed and then allowed back in the country by the same process. When it really scaled, it was based on a model called a pedal selling system. You had a delivery truck, and the person with the delivery truck loaded up as much beer as they thought they could sell that day, generally in a routed fashion, and they would go call on the licensed customers that were on their route for the day, and they would try to sell everything on their truck. They were paid purely by how much they sold off their truck. So they had massive incentive to convince retailers to buy whatever they had on the truck, and the better ones could get it done, midday, get back, reload their truck, and go back out and even sell more. But what that pedal selling system did is it created this partnership between the wholesaler and the retailer. At the end of the day, what we wind up being able to do is have just this cultural passion for putting our products in front of a consumer at an impulse level type of a mentality. We, even though most sales are generated by somebody who knows exactly what they want and they kind of make a beeline right toward it, there's a lot of impulse that goes on, and there's a lot of brand building and marketing, especially for things that are new to follow the consumer demand.
And we talk about this truck how many cases go on this truck and what it is per stop to go on this truck, right? But if you take a step back and you're really, really just logical, a distributor, that warehouse is no different than a retailer in those four walls. That warehouse only has so much space. They only have so many bins. They can only put so many items on there, and they're looking for efficiencies.
The first thing to know is from just a bigger picture, across the country, there are, between Miller Coors and Anheuser-Busch, let's just say that there are less than 1,000 distributors that handle basically, let's just call it 2 suppliers. Let's go to wine and spirits for a second. There are basically 2 distributors. There's more certainly, but there's basically 2 big distributors, call it 4, and there are thousands of suppliers. So what that winds up translating to is at retail, what those 2 big wine and spirits distributors traditionally are really good at is selling the really big stuff.
And big drops.
Big
too.
drops.
53% of beer is sold in the convenience channel. 53% of beer is sold in the convenience channel. Wine and spirit distributors sell the majority of their product in liquor stores and grocery, right, where legal. And they do a great job there. So if you're a wine and spirit distributor and you don't have the brand mix to go there, that's not your bread and butter.
And it naturally lends itself to a 12-ounce, 16-ounce sparkling can, low toxicity, enjoyable in a lot of occasions, right? That's where THC marries up nicely against beer, and therefore it's sold in the same places as beer.
And even when we were crafting our language in Minnesota, there were 2 goals. Treat this like beer and destigmatize it. Those 2 things were our primary goals. Because, again, beer is the perfect channel. We have to work together with wholesalers. We have to work together with adult use cannabis. When Minnesota did our 2022 bill, the stoners of Minnesota were like, leave it to Minnesota to legalize 3.2% cannabis. Thanks, Minnesota. Which is hilarious, but also true. These are people who may have never used. One of the main people that we see are like 60-year-old grandmothers who want to sleep better. Middle-aged fathers who want to cut back on their drinking. These are not people who would traditionally step foot into a dispensary, but they will pick up a 4-pack from their liquor store, and they will go home, and they will consume it in the safety of their basement, and they will decide whether or not THC is a benefit to their lifestyle. Once they dial in their dose, 4 months after they pick up that 4-pack, they will visit their local dispensary when it's open, and they will see what kind of products they can supply them with. Because I think there's something in watching somebody pour a glass of something from a tap and set it down for you that normalizes it, that completely takes away any of the, reefer madness, any of that. This is just an adult beverage that is sociable. Everyone deserves a bar stool. Whether you are California sober, whether you are fully non-altering substance sober, whether you are a beer drinker. These are some of the last remaining third spaces in the entire world. So these bars and restaurants and tap rooms are where conversations happen about your community, about what's going on. And nobody should be left out of that conversation or that laughter. So we need to be offering something for everyone. And this is one of the best ways that we can invite more people into our spaces and get more people out and about and back into bars and restaurants.
We always talk in the beer industry about push and pull, right? Push is us convincing the retailer to get the product on the shelf. We're very good at that. We control a lot of space, and we can be very influential, and we can get new things placed. Ultimately, pull is what wins the day. Mm-hmm. You've got to get the consumer demand. Higher milligram products are frankly selling faster than lower milligram products, which tells me that the people that are shopping them are not the ultimate consumer that we're looking for.
89% of our members either operate in this space or are interested in operating in this space. Over 50% of our members are currently manufacturing these products. 30% of our members, this makes up 20 to 50% now of their barrelage that they produce every year. A majority, 60%, only produce it for themselves.
So data point, beer's about $100 billion in the U.S. I would say beer has probably 3 or 4 occasions, however you want to define it, that people drink beer. Energy drink category is about a $25 billion business. Energy drink probably has 7 or 8 occasions that people consume energy drinks. We think Delta 9 has at least 8 occasions.
There's one brand that told me, this is a THC beverage brand, told me that some of their biggest drops are, this is orders that are direct, are actually to a retirement community. And so if you think about that, that is someone who's not going to wait till 5 o'clock to take the edge off. If it helps them, if it helps them at 8 in the morning, they're going to take it at 8 in the morning. And so just to the point, this is an expansion of occasions that alcohol, frankly, has not had the opportunity to. So I'm really excited for where this will go because it is going to blow people's minds how many new occasions that we're going to open up with this category.
1 in every 100 jobs globally is tied to beer. Beer isn't going anywhere, and we're not fighting against each other, and we are not fighting against wholesalers, and we are not fighting against adult use cannabis folks. The only way we move forward is there is no us versus them. There's just us.